Shana Tova, a Gajantif. If you can find your seats, make sure you have a machzor. The happy sound of Jews in person for the new year. What a wonderful, wonderful thing. What an incredibly wonderful thing. Welcome to our new sanctuary outside of Sunset. We are so aware of how grateful we are to all be here together. Truly, we are deeply aware, all of us up here, and just it's so amazing to look out and see all of you here. We welcome, of course, those who are streaming from home. Lots of folks still streaming from home, and we're still one community gathered in many different places. Cantor Franklin and I just came from the Hill where Rabbi Sher and Rabbi Vogel led a family service at St. Matthew's on what we're calling the Holy Hill. About 250 people there, so we're everywhere here on the west side. So if you will take your machzor and turn with me to page 24. And let's read together on page 24. This Rosh Hashanah, each of us enters this sanctuary with a different need. Some hearts are full of gratitude and joy. They are overflowing with the happiness of love and the joy of life. They are eager to confront the day, to make the world more fair. They are recovering from illness or have escaped misfortune, and we rejoice with them. Some hearts ache with sorrow. Disappointments weigh heavily upon them, and they have tasted despair. Families have been broken. Loved ones lie on a bed of pain. Death has taken those whom they cherished. May our presence and sympathy bring them comfort. Some hearts are embittered. They have sought answers in vain, have had their ideals mocked and betrayed. Life has lost its meaning and value. May the knowledge that we too are searching restore their hope that there is something to find. Some spirits hunger. They long for friendship. They crave understanding. They yearn for warmth. May we, in our common need, gain strength from one another, sharing our joys, lightening each other's burdens, and praying for the welfare of our community. It is my great pleasure to ask the family members of the clergy team to please come and accept the honor of lighting the candles for this Erev Rosh Hashanah. And we're going to blow the shofar. Let them do this first. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Candle lighting shofar. Okay. On there. So yeah. Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel yom tov.
Good yom tov, good yom tov.
A good yontif with each other, a good yontif. And so the sound,
Mandy, stay here.
the sound of Rosh Hashanah, the sound of shofar, tekiah, shkoyach. And we invite our Mandy Frankel to lead us in Shehecheyanu, found on 28 in your prayer book. You look beautiful.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehecheyanu vekimanu vehigianu lazman hazeh Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehecheyanu vekimanu vehigianu lazman hazeh Shana Tova.
So we're going to turn to page 62. If Allison and Jeffrey Edelstein are here, you're being honored. Amy Powell is being honored with opening the ark, because we're going to rise in just a moment for the Baruch Hu, the call to prayer. So if you'll come up, the Edelsteins and Amy Powell.
Amy Powell's here. And they can rise. Edelsteins are not here.
Great. We rise as we are able. You may be seated. So we come to the words below the Baruch Hu on page 62, Asher Bidvaro, with whose words this universe came into being according to our sacred mythology. that speech in our tradition holds the power literally to create and to destroy. And we know that we humans wrote this amazing creation narrative because we human beings experience all the time the power of words. The words spoken to us by others, people we trust and look up to whom we're vulnerable. The words that we speak to ourselves, our self-talk, the words that we speak to others have incredible power. Asher bidvaro, with words we create, and we pay attention these high holy days to the patterns that have been for us this last year and what we'd like to see change about those patterns in the year to come. 62.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher bidvaro Mariv Aravim B'chokhmah פותח שערים ובתבונה משנה עתים ומחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשברותיהם ברקיע כרצונו בורא יום ולילה גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור ומעביר יום ומביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים תמיד תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד לעולם ועד לעולם ועד ימלוך ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבי.
Together we say Amen.
So we turn to page 5049 in the English, and we come to one of the main metaphors of these high holy days. We come to the imagery of the gates opening. We plead that the gates open for us. And I feel like, particularly on Erev Rosh Hashanah, it's about the creaking, really stiff gates in here, that we begin to try to take some spiritual WD-40 to the hinges on the gates of our own inner being, our own inner life, our own inner prayer book, our own gates. So as we come to this first Pitchli, this first sense of opening the gates, let us just set an intention to let Julie Silver's amazing setting of this wash over us as we attempt to enter truly into the spirit and the work of these high holy days.
Sometimes I lose my way, I stumble and fall. I fail to see the open door and only see a wall. Sometimes I close my ears when open they should be. But then I stop and listen to that still small voice inside of me. Pitchu li, Sharei tzedek, Avovam, Odeya, Pitchu li, Sharei tzedek, Avovam, Odeya, Pitchu.
May I see my life in the work of your hands and walk in love and freedom to the promised land. And when I lose my way, I pray that I may see that spark inside the darkness and the gates open for me.
Pitchu li, Sharei tzedek, Avovam, Odeya, 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 Pitchu li. Pitchu li. Sing this with me one last time. Pitchu li. Nicely done.
So we come to page 76. Even as our intention is to have the gates open, our eyes close, because sometimes those work in tandem. Closing our eyes allows other things to open. So we turn to page 76 and rise as we are able for the words of the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto Leolam. You may be seated. Page 76, we have the Vehafta, and we usually honor one of our B'nai Mitzvah from the past year to lead us, but this year we decided let's invite the class and see who comes on Erev Rosh Hashanah and Kol Nidre. So there's a number of you who have agreed to come up and chant the Vehafta for us, so please come on up. I have here Miles and Stella, Quincy and Dante, Addison, Abby and Bella, and maybe Asher wants to come up. I see Asher out there. Let's, whoever wants to come up, who's been B'nai Mitzvah this year, just come up and help us. And the congregation can kvel on our children, on our future. These are the future of the Jewish people. Page 76, you will find the Vehafta. Some of you take this mic, and some of you take this mic. And here are the words if you don't know it by heart. Do you need the words? Asher, come over here. Come this way, guys. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך וחיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם ללמדך ודיברת בם ושבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושופך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Let's say Yasher Koach. And you know what? Not much has changed throughout history. The girls in the front and the boys in the back. I love that. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to introduce this piece and tell you a small, may I say a short story? When I was in 4th grade, my Rabbi Robert Miller, came into our classroom to check on the homework that we were supposed to have done, you know, at Temple Beth Avodah in Newton, Massachusetts. And he was there to check on the Ve'ahavta in Hebrew that we were all supposed to have learned and memorized. And I did not do my homework. And I know. It's shocking, I know. As Rabbi Miller went around, and by the way, Rabbi Miller, oh, of blessed memory, I loved him. He looked exactly like Mel Brooks. The doppelganger, where's Chaim?
Right here.
Yes. He was, in fact, when I met Mel Brooks once in 1994, I had just moved here and I shook his hand. I said, I have to tell you, my rabbi, growing up my whole life, you are like his long-lost twin. It's like doppelganger. He says, he pulls me very close. He says, I feel very sorry for your rabbi. My rabbi could have embarrassed me that day in 4th grade, right? He could have said, Julie, you didn't do your work. But instead, he showed me a lot of love. A lot of love. And he said, you know what, now let's do it in English. Let's do this one line in English as he went around. Boy, I didn't want to blow it again for that man, that rabbi. So I wrote this for him years later in English, Ve'ahavta, for Rabbi Miller. How's the guitars okay? Love Adonai, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart. Teach them faithfully unto your children. Speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise. Well, you know it by now. Bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be a symbol between your eyes, and write them on the doorposts. Write them of your house, and upon your gates, and upon your gates, and upon your gates. Teach them faithfully unto your children. Speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise, and when you rise. Thank you. Thank you for singing. It's a good story.
For everyone who didn't do their homework.
Yes. And everyone who had loving, loving rabbis.
So we come to our celebration, our acknowledgement, our gratitude for the fact that we are here and that we are free to choose to be here. That's Mi Chamocha on page 90 of your Machzor. We never take for granted our status as free people. We never take for granted our understanding that it's our responsibility to work for the freedom of all peoples. That is the charge that we take out of our sacred history.
מי כמוך אוהלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, עושה פלא, נורא תהילות, עושה פלא, עושה פלא. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, עושה פלא, נורא תהילות, עושה פלא, עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע הים לפני משה, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, עושה פלא, נורא תהילות, עושה פלא, עושה פלא. ונאמר כי פדו אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, ברוך שמו Gal Yisrael.
In just a moment, we'll have a Misha Berach, a chance to share names and bless those who are sick with the speedy recovery, with whatever kind of recovery our divine love from God will allow. And what I love so much about Misha Berach is that traditionally we wouldn't see it at an evening service. It actually first begun by having a spot in Torah service. When you welcome Torah, when you bring Torah out, when you grab the Torah, you say, in this moment when we're doing the holiest, deepest work, I want to ask something of you, God. And I think that's so powerful because what it really shows is that when we care about people, they're on our minds. Their names are in our hearts. We instantaneously know what names to share because they're the people who we care for. And we're giving God the exact same opportunity to react, to listen, and to sit with us in love and to hear these names. And so I find it to be a really beautiful example of the relationship we have with God. We trust God enough to share the names of those who we care about, putting the confidence into God that whatever will be, but will be with that much more peace and love and comfort. So if there are those in your lives who are in need of healing, whether you're here with us or on live stream, I invite you to rise, to share their names out loud, so that when we pray, we're truly praying on behalf of all of the names. If you have names in your mind, I invite you to rise or share the names out loud at this time. It isn't about a hierarchical nature of this moment. It's much more than that. It is this chance now, as we hold all of these names, as we've welcomed all those names into this space, that we truly allow God to listen.
With the love he gave to my mama, carry on. With the love he gave to my father, carry on. From the shoulders of all generation, gone. Bring shalom home. Warm golden rays bring shalom home. Stronger every day. Misha Berach Avotain, carry on. Misha Berach Imotain, carry on. From the shoulders of all generations, gone. Bring shalom home. Warm golden rays bring shalom home. Stronger every day bring shalom. For feeling we pray, bring shalom home. Keep out the cold, bring shalom home. the young and the old, bring shalom to body and soul. With the love you gave to my mama, carry on.
Amen. On page 91, we'll read together the words of Hashkivenu, the words that remind us that we don't have to act like we've got it all together. We can just stop and be in that moment and say, I'm a little scared, I'm a little fearful, I need a little extra support and love. If we can ask that from God, we should also remember that we can ask that from one another. We don't have to stand in moments and have that fear. Join me on page 91. Help us to lie down, dear one, our God, in peace, and let us rise again, our sovereign, to life. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Decree for us a worthy daily lot and redeem us for the sake of your great name, and enfold us in the wings of your protection, for you are our redeeming guardian. Truly a sovereign, gracious, and compassionate God are you. Guard our going forth each day for life and peace now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Blessed are you, compassionate one, who spreads your canopy of peace over all your people Israel and over Yerushalayim.
Look on to the prayer on page 92, the Hebrew or the English, and let it wash over you. Close your eyes. Think of a Sukkot Shalom. Galina, one more time. Thank you. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'shalom V'hamidenu Malkeinu L'chaim Ufros aleinu Sukkot shelo amecha V'takneinu be'etzah tova milfanecha V'hoshienu Leman shemecho. V'haseh me'aleinu oyev dever v'cherev v'rav v'yagon V'yoser esloton milfaneinu umeachareinu lefonayenu Seiteinu voeinu lechayim uleshalom me'ata me'ata me'ata
Elul, the shofar, by Devon Spear. The sound of the shofar calls to us from the realm of ancient longing, which, though seemingly back there, is actually here. In the moment we remove the veil of forward and back and decide instead to face life as is. Yes, all of it. New moon, new year, and morning. Each of these like a note in the chorus of our living, daring us to listen to the power of the blast, and with all that is in and around us, to receive each moment as a life-giving gift and a symphony of awe.
Where have you been? Famous atheist was flying home from a religious debate and was seated next to this little girl in the airplane. So he turned to her and he said, do you want to talk? Flights go quicker, you know, if you strike up a conversation with your fellow passenger. The little girl who had just started to read her own book looks up and says, well, what would you want to talk about? Oh, I don't know, said the atheist. How about why there's no God, why there's no heaven and hell, why there's no afterlife? Okay, said the little girl, those could be interesting topics. But let me ask you a question about something I'm curious about first. The atheist said, okay. So she said, a horse and a cow and a deer all eat the same stuff. It's just grass. But a deer excretes little pellets, while a cow turns out a flat patty, and a horse drops large clumps. Why do you suppose that is? So the famous atheist, a little taken aback, as you can tell, thinks about it a moment and then goes, actually, I have no idea. To which the little girl replies, so do you really feel qualified to discuss God, heaven and hell, and what happens after you die when you don't know shit? I can get away with anything. So, I don't know about you, but that's pretty much how I've been feeling for a long time now, that I don't know much of anything. These past few years, there have been so many times when I have actually felt that we're simply adrift in a vast sea of grief, while at the same time living in a kind of Alice in Wonderland topsy-turvy world. Or perhaps it's the Stranger Things upside down to be a bit more contemporarily relevant. Either way, I constantly find myself thinking that we live at the exact same moment, both in a consumer heaven and a communal ethics hell. Consumer heaven? I was officiating at a wedding one Saturday last month at the Ojai Valley Inn, and I noticed this fabulous close-up mirror in the hotel room. It was so cool that the closer you got to it, the brighter it got. So all I did was I picked up my iPhone and I tapped a few strokes, and by the time I got home on Monday, lo and behold, that mirror was in my bathroom at home. Communal ethics hell? Have you watched the news at any time in the past 5 years? So last January, my new favorite poet, Amanda Gorman, wrote in the New York Times, if you are alive, you are afraid. If you're not afraid, you're not paying attention. The only thing we have to fear is having no fear itself, having no feeling on behalf of whom and what we've lost, whom and what we love. Fear can be love, trying its best in the dark. So do not fear your fear, own it, free it. The truth is, hope isn't a promise we give, it's a promise we live. Indeed, hope is a promise we live if we're brave enough to hope in spite of the headlines on any given day in America. In the first 200 days of 2022, we averaged 13 mass shootings a week. A week. Well over 400 mass shootings since the start of the year. Hope is a promise we live if you're brave enough to hope in spite of the, 6 million or something deaths from COVID across the world, or the 40,000 deaths in America just last year from automobile accidents alone, or the estimated 100 deaths in the US last year from overdoses alone. Should I go on? No, of course not. Because we all know these realities. They remind me of what one theologian wrote, which was, in the end, all great spirituality is what to do with our pain. So here we are, our annual collective wrestling with our pain, both private and public, our High Holy Days services. And once again, we're here both in person and online, precisely because we are brave enough to hope. In fact, Judaism pretty much invented the very idea of hope. We ate manna in the wilderness. What I like to call the manna principle was that you could only collect enough manna for one day. If you tried to collect more than one day, it turned rotten. So we learned from the very inception of Jewish civilization about hope and faith, that all we can ever do is live one day at a time and have the faith that there will be enough tomorrow to continue life's journey together. Psychologist Dr. Edith Eger is an expert in PTSD and an Auschwitz survivor herself. She taught hope is two things: the awareness that suffering, however terrible, is temporary, and the curiosity to discover what happens next. Many years ago, in my naive youth, I remember my amazement when I read that Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, on his 90th birthday, was asked why he was reading Plato, and he answered, "To improve my mind." At the time, I remember the wonder of someone not only achieving 90 years to be alive, but having enough faculties and interests to still be reading Plato. Well, I thought a lot about that quote this past year, and I literally laughed out loud, because yesterday, Didi and I were in Sacramento with my family celebrating my own mother's 100th birthday, which is going to take place 2 days from now. Thank you. So when Frank Buckle turned 100 and people asked him his secret, he replied, "When you feel like you're going to die, don't." You probably remember when Norman Lear famously turned 100 this year, he wrote, "The meaning of life can be summed up in one word: tomorrow," which goes along with his one piece of advice that clearly stands out above all the rest. He said, "There are two little words we don't pay enough attention to: over and next." So what about my mom? What has she been doing this past 100th year of her life? Studying Spanish. I know. Oh, and the books next to her chair that she's been reading this year, I took a snapshot of them the other day. They are Huma Abedin's Both and: A Life in Many Worlds, Jamie Raskin's Unthinkable, Trauma, Truth, and the Trials of American Democracy, Amy Tan's The Opposite of Faith, and Sunny Hostin's Summer on the Bluffs, among others. So how can I not talk about my mom today and the lessons I've learned from her as we start this new year and she starts her 101th year on this planet? My mom, Betty Sylvia Salter Rubin, is quite simply a phenomenon. She's lived a lifetime of community service and social activism. One of my most vivid childhood memories is as a little boy joining her walking precincts in Santa Monica as she was knocking on doors and encouraging people to come out and vote in some primary. Almost 70 years later, just a few months ago, she enlisted me once again, this time to help her as she wrote 60 postcards to send to some purple state to encourage folks to show up and vote in their primary as well. The more things change, you know. So when we moved to Sacramento in 1965 from Santa Monica, where, by the way, I had just finished 10th grade right here at Samo High, she, of course, immediately became active in our local synagogue, got on the board, was like, I don't know, president of everything, and was an organizing founder of something called the Committee of Concern to fight hunger and poverty in the community. Then she served for over 10 years as the California Public Affairs Chair for the National Council of Jewish Women, lobbying the legislature in Sacramento every day on issues related to women and children and the disenfranchised of society. Believe it or not, just last year, literally just last year, she was the featured speaker at the NCJW installation in Sacramento once again. Oh, and she created this outreach program called Touch of Shabbat that for almost 30 years delivered chicken soup and challah and applesauce each month on Shabbat to housebound AIDS patients. The honorary Darrell Steinberg, formerly the leader of the California Senate and currently the mayor of Sacramento, wrote about my mom, "Countless children, teens, families, and elders have had their lives made better through the direct efforts of Betty Rubin. I've known her for over 30 years, and she has been my role model for public service, inspiring me to ensure there's a voice for those who are disenfranchised and underprivileged." So imagine growing up with my mom as my mom. For me and my three sisters, it was kind of like being the caboose on a fast-moving freight train. Actually, I always thought of my mom as the real rabbi of the family. Had she been born in a different time, rabbi for sure. My entire life, to this very day, this very last Friday night, Mom lights the candles on Shabbat by closing her eyes and spontaneously creating a prayer for our family and community and those in need that is powerful, inspiring, and breathtaking in its scope, something that, frankly, I could only aspire to emulate myself. Okay, so here they are. 10 lessons I've learned from my mother that inspire me every day and have always reminded me of perhaps her most important lesson of all, which I'm sure you've heard me say already often, that the most important things in life are never things, they're always, always people, and how we can touch their lives with meaning and purpose. Now, I'm not suggesting that you or any of us should try to be just like my mom. We are all one of a kind. She did it her way, and it's up to you to do it your way to be Jewish, or your way to be a parent, to be a friend, to be you, frankly. For you're a one-of-a-kind, unique human being on the planet, never before existing, never again existing. And so your way is the way to be authentically you. But here are the lessons she taught me, and you can take from them what you will. Lesson number 1, show up. Show up when it's hard. Show up when it isn't easy. Show up when it hurts and is challenging. Show up when it matters. Whether as a parent volunteer at school, or den mother for Cub Scouts or Campfire Girls, I have 3 sisters, remember, on the board, or as president of every organization from Jewish Family Service to the Synagogue Sisterhood to Community Relations Council, or simply to sit by the bedside of a friend in the hospital or at a shiva, or delivering food to friends and strangers in need. Show up. Lesson number 2, family isn't about biology or genetics. It's about choice. After my biological father died and my mother remarried, I inherited a new father and my oldest sister. Both parents then formally adopted each other's kids, and then together they had my youngest sister. And throughout our lives together, my mother ferociously taught us and anyone else who ever came in contact with the Rubin family that we were always, always one family, indivisible, bound together by what really mattered, not biology, but love. Lesson number 3, we too often love things and use people when we should be using things and loving people. My mother epitomizes something that James Baldwin once said, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced." Our job is to stand up for what is right, whether it's popular or not, and do something to make the world and people's lives better, because that's why we were born. Lesson number 4, lifelong learning isn't simply a slogan, it's a way of life. Along with those books I mentioned before, and the hundreds of others that she reads every year, When she was about 50, she went back to college, got a bachelor's degree in behavioral science, and then a master's degree in early childhood education, taught a Head Start program, ran a preschool, and then taught early childhood education to aspiring teachers and educators at Sacramento City College. That has been my education role model throughout my life. And lesson number 5 is my motto that you've heard over and over again. Naturally, I really learned it from my mother. And it became my personal passion, my personal purpose in life, to inspire people to know that what they say matters, and what they do matters, and who they are matters. That's how my mother has lived her life every single day for 100 years now. Lesson number 6, it is when tragedy strikes that you most powerfully discover the irreplaceable blessing of true friends and the gift of community in your life. When my first father died at age 38, it was friends and the Jewish community that showed up for my mother and for my sister and me as small children of 6 and 4 to teach us just how resilient the human spirit can be in the face of adversity. Frankly, a lesson we can all use today, given the world we live in 2022 as well. Yes, of course, my mother learned from her mother, who was born and raised in London, the famous British motto, keep calm and carry on. Although when I was in Florida this summer, I saw a t-shirt that said, I can't keep calm, I'm Jewish. Lesson number 7, the transformational power and grounding gift of ritual. My entire childhood, every Friday night, 6 p.m., my sisters and I would be, without fail, sitting at our Shabbat table to recite the blessings. Ritual held our family together through the trials and tribulations and the triumphs and the successes, in good times and bad. The spiritual and emotional bond of being part of something greater than yourself that stretches back thousands of years with wisdom and tools for living a life of meaning is a precious spiritual inheritance. It was my mother's gift to us, and frankly, it's this synagogue's gift to you always as well. Lesson number 8, you can change your life by changing your choices. Anne Frank famously said, our lives are fashioned by our choices. First we make our choices, and then our choices make us. My mother lived by example that circumstances don't define you, your life choices do. And every day is another opportunity to choose once again. Join a synagogue and reap the rewards of connection to community, as my mother did the minute we arrived in Sacramento, or not. Continue your education at any age, as my mother did, or don't. Volunteer with organizations that improve the lives of children or those unjustly incarcerated or those crushed by poverty or systemic discrimination or any other number of people who struggle physically or spiritually or mentally. And like my mother, your choices will add purpose to your life and can uplift the lives of others as well. Lesson number 9. True love isn't expressed merely by what you say, but even more importantly, by what you do and how you act every single day with the ones you love. To this day, my mother is the best thank you note writer on the planet, yes, even better than Jimmy Fallon, for every gift, every thoughtful gesture, every visit, every activity, service, or occasion. She eloquently expresses her love and gratitude by hand for the blessings that she still says fill her life every day. Finally, lesson number 10, ask my mom, and she will tell you that even living 100 years is actually just living one day, and then another one day, and then if you're lucky, another one day. So she will say, make this day count, because it's literally the only day. Just today, to fill with family, with friends, with meaning, with magic, with gratitude, with love. It's the wisdom of the traditional Jewish morning prayer that we recite each morning Upon waking, Modani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam, shechazarta bi nishmati b'chemla rabbe emunatecha. Thank you, God, for the gift of this new day, for returning my soul to me once again, and for having faith that I will make this day matter. So I close, of course, with a story. The first McDonald's opened in Moscow in 1990. Many months of training preceded the grand opening, where they were taught to, quote, welcome the customers. Now, if you've ever been to Russia, as I have, you will immediately realize that this was truly a foreign idea to both the workers and the folks walking in. So the workers were trained to convey this McDonald's welcome message, and the Russian for this translated basically like, your arrival here is pleasing to us. Okay, McDonald's did in fact become wildly successful, but the historic lines of Russians standing outside in the cold just to get in turned out wasn't for the fries or the Happy Meals. The lines became long because customers would not leave. They wouldn't leave the place once they were inside. And when asked, they said the reason was the welcome. Well, that pretty much captures my mom. Everyone feels her welcome every day, in every way, with everything she says and everything she does. Remember, it was the 12th century Sufi poet Hafiz who, when asked, what's the meaning of life, what's our purpose here, answered, when all your desires are distilled, you will cast but 2 votes, to love more and to be happy. That is the true lesson and legacy that even after 100 years, my mother gives us every day, to love more and to be happy. And that's the blessing I give from her to all of you on her 100th Rosh Hashanah birthday. Shana Tova Umituka, for a sweet and beautiful new year. And oh, since my mother is actually watching this from Sacramento, I hope you like that. Happy birthday, Mom, from everybody in the congregation as well. So, because I have the microphone, in honor of my mother, I'm going to sing a song about the miracle that she is every day in my life. Elohai Neshama.
Plug you in?
Yeah, I love to be plugged in.
Okay.
Got it. No. But I need my wife. I always need my wife. Elohai Nishama Shinatata Bi Elohai Nishama Tehorahi Tabarata Tayatsata Atana Fachta Bi Elohai Nishama
Elohai,
Elohai Nishama
Elohai Neshama,
Elohai Nishama Bakirbi Holy One, with a soul, you gave to me. Holy One, I am whole, and gratefully. Every morning, every evening, everyone can see. Every miracle,
every miracle,
every miracle,
every miracle,
every miracle given me. Spirit breathing in me, lightens up my soul.
Lightens up my soul.
Holy light within me makes me whole. Elohai, Neshama, Shenatatabi, Elohai, Neshama, Tahorahi. Every morning, every evening, everyone can see every miracle,
Every miracle,
every miracle,
every miracle,
every miracle given me.
Shana Tova.
Yasher koach. We're all truly overjoyed to be in this space. You've already heard it. You'll hear it a few more times over the holidays because we missed you. Because we want to gather together. And even though we've put all kinds of effort and time into making sure we could still connect, it's a different kind of connection. It's the kind of connection that we can actually feel with prayers like our Amidah blessings. So many of our prayers, we ask you to join us, to unify our voices, to fill the room with your voices. The Amidah, we're going to change perspectives. People often call it the silent Amidah. That's not right. It's the almost silent Amidah. You're supposed to speak just the smallest, tiniest voice you can, so that your voice is in the room, but by speaking so softly, so quietly, you make space for every other voice in the room to be heard as well. It's a different way of being in community. Making sure that every voice has a space. No one has to shout. No one has to fight over. Everyone can feel welcome to be heard. Every voice can be heard from God. We aren't silent. We are soft. We are quiet. We are deliberate in those words. So, from page 104 to 126, read, reflect, pray, speak to God, meditate, use this space, but don't be afraid to just let your voice be heard a little bit. And see if you can hear and recognize and celebrate the voices around you. We rise for our Amidah. Again, we turn to page 106.
Now that you've had time to pray and be seated, I ask you to rise. For the Kaddish Shalem on page 1187, or page 24, for those of you who are following online in your home machzor. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabo v'yalma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomeichon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'yimeru amen. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal Shemei dekodesha Leila uleila min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata da amiran be'alma. Tushbechata v'nechemata da amiran be'alma. V'yimeru amen. Oy 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 titkaber tzloton uva'uton dechol beit Yisrael kadam abuhon divishmayo 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 v'yimeru amen yesh lomo rabo min shemayo v'chayim v'chayim oleinu oleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimeru amen oseh shalom bimroma v'yaseh shalom aleinu aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimeru amen. Welcome, Lori Krause.
I am pleased and proud, you can be seated, to invite your president, Lori Krause, president of Kehillat Israel, to come and give you a moment's welcome.
Get this. Shana Tova. I can't tell you how happy I am to be up here and looking out at all these faces and speaking to the people at home on the live stream. This is really an incredible moment. I'm happy to welcome everybody to our high holidays this year. It's been 3 years since we've been able to gather together in person, a long 3 years. The high holidays traditionally are times that we celebrate our Judaism communally, as a congregation. We fill up the seats in the sanctuary and we say hello and hug people we haven't seen maybe for a year. We notice how children have grown up since the last time we saw them. We sing and we pray with one voice. I didn't know how much I missed that until I walked into this beautiful space, adorned with the ritual furniture and the beautiful banners that have been part of our high holiday services for so many years, and experiencing the music tonight, the prayer, the incredible thoughtfulness of every speech. It's been just a marvelous experience to be back together to share all of that. I'm incredibly moved. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you for contributing your energy to make these services and our community experience so special. To those of you with us remotely, welcome. I am so glad we have the technological wherewithal that we can bring our services to you. And I'm grateful that you have chosen to join us. Please know that we feel your presence. Lastly, I want to thank our clergy, our professional staff, the volunteers, and all those who help make these services possible. Producing high holiday services is a monumental task, believe me. KI is offering services this year at 4 physical venues, and we're streaming from 2 of those venues. Our clergy and professional staff have put their hearts and souls into creating a fantastic first year back. In particular, I want to acknowledge the efforts of our Executive Director, Adam Simon, our Member Engagement Director, Tricia Mercer, our Program Coordinator, Rebecca Surratt, our Synagogue Services Administrator, Hannah Behenna, and our Clergy Assistant, Rachel Feldman. Of course, I want to acknowledge our beloved Rabbi Bernstein, Cantor Frankel, Rabbi Rubin, Rabbi Scher, and cantorial soloists Daniel Liance and Julie Silver. Thank you for making this evening already so special. I also want to thank those who are here creating this service for us tonight so that we can all have a deeper and more wonderful experience. I want to thank Amy Levine, who is our choir conductor, Galina Barskaya on piano, and the entire KI choir. I'd like to thank Pro Angle Media, who's managing our live stream, Jeb Lipson, who's doing sound, and the whole team at Samo High, which has been just amazing to work with. I look forward to greeting you outside for the Oneg. Please come up and say hello and introduce yourself if we don't already know each other. I hope your holidays are joyful and meaningful. My family and I wish you and yours a Shana Tova, a new year of health, well-being, and all good things.
And it is an honor to ask our past presidents to accept the honor of joining us on the Bima, as is the tradition every year, Erev Rosh Hashanah, for Kiddush. Page 1198 is Kiddush. If you're at home, you're on page 26.
Please rise for the Kiddush. Rabbi Bernstein will hold the Kiddush cup high on behalf of all of us. Just a few things about our past presidents. We want to thank Andy Garb for always organizing this, and also to wish him a happy 80th birthday, which he just experienced yesterday. He'll get to Betty Rubin's age too. He'll be at 100. To 120, Andy. We also want to send our love to Rachel Jeffer, who couldn't make it. Her stepmother passed away yesterday in Arizona. She was going to be here, and I know she's watching, and we send our love and prayers to her as well. So our Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kra'anu la'avodato romemanu bikdushato וקידשנו במצוותיו ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה את יום הזיכרון הזה, יום תרועה באהבה, מקרא הקודש, מקרא הקודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי אלינו קראת, ואותנו קידשת לעבודתך, ודברך אמת וקיים לה. ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך על כל הארץ, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל, ישראל, ויום הזיכרון. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. לחיים, לחיים.
What happens now? Yeah, you're done. We ask Lois, Yaffe, and Stephen Lewis, Jeffrey and Allison and Edelstein to please come up and accept the honor of opening the Ark for the Aleinu as we begin closing our services. Page 1201 is Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שנתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו.
ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים
לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
And on page 1207, the words of Rabbi Rami Shapiro. It is up to us to hallow creation, to respond to life with the fullness of our lives. Join me. It is up to us to meet the world, to embrace the whole, even as we wrestle with its parts. It is up to us to repair the world and to bind our lives to truth. Therefore, we bend the knee and shake off the stiffness that keeps us from the supple graces of life and the supple gestures of love. With reverence and thanksgiving, we accept our destiny and set for ourselves the task of redemption.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא.
ביום ההוא
יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו ושמו ושמו
Page 1214, Nancy and Len Garber are honored with leading us in praise of the living before Mourners Kaddish.
They're here. Amy, before we do a session, I'll make these announcements, okay? Gotta do them after we start. Tomorrow, welcome new members not here. No, no. Yeah.
It's a loud kiss.
Always. Yitkadav Yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, this profound praise of the living, praise for the generous gift of life, praise for the presence of loved ones, the bonds of friendship, the link of memory, praise for the toil and searching, the dedication and visions, the ennobling aspirations.
Praise for the precious moorings of faith, for courageous souls, for prophets, promise, and sages. Praise for those who walk before us, the sufferers in the valley of shadow, the steadfast in the furnace of hate. Praise for the God of our fathers, the source of all growth and goodness, the promise of which we will build tomorrow. Okay, go ahead, Nancy.
Yitgadal v'yitkadesh Shemei Rabbah, thus the profound praise we offer, praise for the generous gift of life. Amen. Amen.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. We'll turn to page 1216 as we come to Mourner's Kaddish. And if you'd like to say the name of someone you're remembering at this time, I ask that you say it out loud if you're willing. Page 1216, Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'me'omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shemei dekusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tuj bechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlam rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the source of wholeness in this world work through us this Yom Tov in such a way that we might contribute to a world that is more shalem, more whole, therefore one step closer to shalom, one step closer to peace. As together we say, Amen. Amen. So we want to remind everybody that Tashlich is tomorrow, Monday, September 26th, from 5 to 6:30 at Will Rogers State Beach. We'll be at our usual spot of Lifeguard Station number 5. Bring food, bring something to share, and we love hanging out together for Tashlich. The food drive, last year, KI gave over 460,000 pounds of food to the West Side Food Bank, providing 370,000 meals to those in need. So our food drive will run through October 12th. You can go to our website, ourki.org/food drive. Your money goes further online because they can buy in bulk. The start of services tomorrow, Monday. Please join us 10 a.m. here in Barnum Hall and, of course, via live stream. You'll receive an email a day prior to each service with reminders of your service time, parking information, and more. If anybody you know has questions about their tickets or anything else, send them to ourki.org/HHD. We will see you tomorrow morning.
Shalom bimroma.
Put your arms around anyone you're comfortable putting your arm around.
Shalom aleinu.
You're so beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Shalom bimroma. Huyase shalom aleinu. Say shalom bimroma. Say shalom aleinu, Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Oseh shalom bimroma.
Hu yaseh shalom aleinu.
That's right.
Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Ha'olam. Amen.
Happy New Year, good Yom Tov. See you tomorrow.
That's great.